Chapter 971. The more Wuxia spoke, the more agitated he became, as if he wanted to vent all the dissatisfaction and grievances that had been buried in his heart over the years. Everything is ruined because of you. If only you had never appeared. As long as you didn't appear, none of this would have happened. Your existence itself is a mistake. Mom shouldn't have given birth to you. Huan's face darkened slightly. She knew that she couldn't talk to this kind of person who only thought from the perspective of his own interests. She only said with a sullen face, "Mom and Dad shouldn't have adopted you back then." "No, it's not that they shouldn't have adopted me. It's that they shouldn't have had you after adopting me and given birth to you at all costs. When they adopted me, they promised me that I would be their only child for the rest of their life. What happened in the end? They lied to me first, and they didn't keep their promise first. Since they can't keep their words, they might as well not have said it in the first place." Huan listened to him calmly. She knew that in Huan's eyes, she was the so-called imaginary enemy and the one with vested interests. No matter how much she said, it was just a high-sounding excuse. But this didn't mean that he wasn't angry when he heard these words. "Just because they didn't keep their promise and didn't get rid of me in time, you want to kill them? Huan, when Mom was pregnant with me, you were already in your 20s, not a 3-year-old child. They raised you for more than 10 years. Even if you have opinions and dissatisfaction with them, you shouldn't hurt them." Huan gritted his teeth and didn't speak. Huan saw this and felt even more indignant for her parents. Her face darkened a little. "Yesterday, I went to visit Lawyer Zhang, who has retired." Lawyer Zhang, whom Huan mentioned, used to be the head of the Hua Group's legal department. He was about the same age as Huan's deceased father. Some of the more important contracts within the Hua Group had to be drafted by him. This included the will left by Huan's father. Huan trembled, and his hand unconsciously grabbed the corner of the table. "Back then, you were so anxious to harm the three of us that you didn't even hesitate to cooperate with those outlaws. It's because you heard from someone that Dad is going to change his will for the second time. You're worried that Dad will leave everything to me and not you. That's why you took the risk and wanted to get rid of all of us to prevent future trouble, right?" Huan did not expect this matter to be brought up. He lowered his head slightly and looked directly at the table. His face was full of unwillingness. "Then do you know what the contents of Dad's revised will are? What else could it be?" Huan smiled sarcastically. "You're his biological son. He values you so much, and Mom loves you so much. Naturally, she would leave all the good things for you." Huan didn't explain. She just shoved a document through a small window that was less than a centimeter high under the glass. Huan looked at the documents that appeared in front of him. For some reason, he suddenly felt an inexplicable fear. It was as if there was a scourge hidden here. Once the seal was broken, he would never be able to escape. "Don't you want to take a look?" Huan hesitated for a moment, but still reached out to the document. He had nothing left now. What awaited him was only an unknown number of years in prison. There was nothing left to lose. The moment he opened the page, a few lines of words that were deliberately marked in red caught Huan's eyes. His eyes narrowed slightly, and his hands trembled. Chapter 972. How is this possible? This is impossible. Huan's whole body shook, and then he seemed to think of something. He struggled to climb onto the table and shouted against the glass. "This is impossible. How could he do this? It's you. You deliberately forged these, didn't you? This is not true. It can't be true." Huan looked at Huan's face, which was close to hers, and a trace of pleasure and pity flashed through her eyes. "This is a copy of the will after it was revised. All the contents are here in black and white, and only Dad's signature is missing. I asked Lawyer Zhang, and he said that it happened to be my birthday. My parents were busy preparing a birthday present for me, so it was delayed. If nothing unexpected happens, Dad will notarize this will after my birthday and seal it as the final draft." "Impossible, this can't be true." Huan kept whispering, as if he could deny what he saw. He seemed to have aged 10 years all of a sudden. He no longer had the fierce look that he used to have when he accused Huan of not being born into this world. Huan looked at him through the glass and did not forget to give him a fatal blow. "I'm sorry to disappoint you. In the revised will, the Hua Corporation is still yours. It's just that some of the shares that originally belonged to you are given to Hua Xiaofeng, and a part of the real estate that originally belonged to me is transferred to Hua Xiaofeng's name. When this will was made, Hua Chenhuan was still a minor, let alone Hua Xiaofeng, who was a few years younger than him. Hua Qihan was Hua Xiaofeng's guardian. These things were said to be for Hua Xiaofeng, but in fact, they would all fall to Hua Qihan in the end, and he would pass them on to Hua Xiaofeng in the future. From the beginning there was no so-called preference. His parents had always tried to make them feel the same love. They were even worried that Hua Qihan would think too much, so they took his son into consideration. Who would have thought that because he pursued this balance too much, he would attract a fatal disaster for himself? You always compare yourself to me, to those favored juniors of the big families, but you forget that you were originally just an orphan with no one to rely on. It was your parents who took you out of the orphanage, gave you the love of a parent and gave you a home. There are millions of people who have been adopted in this world. I don't dare to say that you have the best life, but at least you won't lose to others. Even the blood relatives of those big families rarely care about their descendants the way your parents care about you. Hua Chenhuan's eyes flashed coldly. It's a pity that you don't deserve this attention. From beginning to end, Hua Chenhuan had never mentioned anything about Hua Qihan cooperating with them to find out the culprits who had killed their parents. After dropping this bombshell that was enough to make Hua Chenhuan regret for the rest of his life, Hua Chenhuan did not have a trace of nostalgia. She turned around and left the small and depressing room. The moment she closed the door, Hua Chenhuan heard Hua Qihan's roar and mournful cries coming from inside. Su Yiyan listened to Hua Chenhuan's story and was speechless for a long time. She did not know how to comfort him. Hua Chenhuan looked at his wife's cautious and hesitant look. Instead he laughed. What's wrong? Are you scared? Su Yiyan shook her head and said thoughtfully, I'm fine. I just think that he might regret it. Hua Chenhuan raised the corners of her mouth slightly, but there was no trace of a smile in her eyes. Yes, he might regret it. Even if it's not for my parents' unreserved love for him, he should regret it for the huge loss of the inheritance. Chapter 973. Su Yiyan's heart seemed to be pricked by something. It hurt so much that her nose was slightly sour. She plunged into Hua Chenhuan's arms and hugged his waist tightly. Hua Chenhuan was slightly stunned. He was both angry and distressed. Why are you crying before I've even cried? Su Yiyan's tears fell down. She sobbed and said, Because I know you can't cry. If you can't cry, I'll cry for you. Hua Chenhuan reached out and touched Su Yiyan's head, letting her cry until her shirt was wet. Don't listen to his nonsense. It's not your fault. You can only blame your parents for being too kind. Someone is too greedy and ruined your parents' kindness. After Su Yiyan finished speaking indignantly, she could not help but ask, You've said so much, but you didn't ask him to help lure those people out. Isn't everything you've done before going to waste? No, Uncle is there. My task has been completed. Uncle will take over the rest. Oh. Su Yiyan nodded. Will he agree to help? He will. Are you sure? If he is not hopelessly stupid, he should understand that this is his only chance to absolve himself of the charges and atone for my parents' sins. With his selfishness, he will not let go of this opportunity. Su Yiyan breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, she felt a little suffocated. Of course, it would be great if Hua Qihan was willing to cooperate, but to atone for his crimes? Why did these words sound so uncomfortable? Were his crimes something that could be easily dismissed? As if seeing Su Yiyan's thoughts, Hua Chenhuan comforted her in a low voice. Don't worry, he has a lot of crimes. Not to mention that he colluded with several senior executives in the company to evade taxes, and used unfair competition to disregard human life. Just the crimes of him bribing his family to steal his child and colluding with those people to murder my parents and me are enough for him to die. Just helping Uncle and the others catch people will only allow him to live for 2 or 3 more years at most. Only then did Su Yiyan's expression improve. He snorted coldly and said, This kind of ungrateful dog, even if it's only for 2 or 3 years, it's still too cheap for him. Hua Chenhuan's parents had died when he was young, and his legs had been like that for more than 10 years. From a kind-hearted and sunny young man, he was forced to grow into a cripple that everyone was afraid of and hated. Wherever he went, he had to endure people's pointing and whispering behind his back for more than 10 years. And all of this had something to do with Hua Qihan. Su Yiyan's heart was burning with anger. She wished she could run to Hua Qihan right now and poke 1,000 holes in his body with a needle. She wanted him to be paralyzed for the rest of his life and lie in bed with only his eyes that could move. After she calmed down, Su Yiyan's gaze fell on the black rose specimen on the table. She frowned and said, "This specimen looks a bit unlucky. Why don't you put it away? If you like it, we have ready-made materials in our yard. I'll make another one for you." Although she hadn't touched this thing for a long time, since she could make it when she was a child, there was no reason why she couldn't do it now that she had grown up. Su Yiyan was full of confidence. She planned to call her mother in a while and ask if there were any notes at home that she had made when she was a child. Hua Chenhuan glanced at Su Yiyan and then at the specimen. He smiled slightly and said, "No need. This is the first gift you've given me. In a way, it's also a token of our love." Chapter 974. Token of love? Su Yiyan was stunned for a moment. Then her face turned red. She said angrily, "You said that you didn't have any thoughts about me when I was young. If you didn't have any thoughts about me, why did you treat this as a token of love? I wasn't even 11 years old at that time." Hua Chenhuan only wanted to tease her. He really didn't think about that. He hurriedly explained, Okay, I'll be honest. Actually, it's because this flower saved me once." "Saved you?" Su Yiyan looked up at him in surprise. She didn't expect that to be the reason. "Not long after I sent you back that day, I got into a car accident. My blood spilled on the flowers you gave me. The smell was a little strong. For dried flowers like this, in order to ensure that the color of the flowers would last long, some chemicals were usually added. It was fine when it was dry. The roses had a certain fragrance that would cover the smell of the chemicals, so it didn't have much of an impact. But once it came into contact with water, the pungent smell of the chemicals would spread. Normally, this smell would only be disgusting. However, when Hua Chenhuan had lost too much blood and was about to lose consciousness, it unexpectedly had some unexpected effects. Even the doctor who operated on him later sighed. He felt that it was especially incredible that Hua Chenhuan could be sent to the hospital with his consciousness intact when he was so seriously injured. In fact, excessive blood loss could easily lead to a lack of blood supply to the brain and lead to shock. After a long time, it could even lead to brain death. If Hua Chenhuan had been in shock for another minute or two, he might not have just been paralyzed. He would have been in a vegetative state for the rest of his life. After listening to Hua Chenhuan's explanation, Su Yiyan sighed. She didn't expect that the bouquet of flowers she casually gave would have such a big effect. But thinking about it, if Hua Chenhuan hadn't been soft-hearted and helped her when she was being chased, Su Yiyan wouldn't have given the flowers in her hand to him, and the things that happened later wouldn't have happened. "You saved me, and I indirectly saved you. This is called good will be rewarded. From this, we can see that doing good deeds is still very useful." Hua Chenhuan's eyes flickered. She suddenly remembered that when she woke up from her coma, she suddenly found out that her legs were crippled. She smashed almost everything around her. Gu Xiaoyang and the others received the news and rushed to the hospital. One team stayed in the hospital to protect him, while the other team followed Zhang Qianyang's men to the scene of the incident to look for clues. At that time, Yu Zian, who had stayed in the hospital at that time, found out that Hua Chenhuan was still holding a bunch of dried flowers that had been dyed red when she was admitted to the hospital, so he asked someone to put the flowers away. Moreover, when Hua Chenhuan was smashing things in anger, she braced herself and handed the flowers over. At that time, almost everyone present thought that he was crazy, but unexpectedly, Hua Chenhuan suddenly calmed down after seeing the bouquet of flowers. No one knew that the moment Hua Chenhuan saw the bouquet of flowers, the scene before Su Yiyan left subconsciously appeared in her mind. At that time, Su Yiyan had already gotten out of the car. After walking for a while, she suddenly remembered something and ran back. She looked up at him and said, "Big brother, my grandfather said that those who are willing to help me are good people. This bouquet of flowers is the finished product of my handicraft class. I made it myself. It's for Big brother. Thank you for helping me just now. I hope Big brother can do a lot of good things like this in the future. I hope Big brother can be safe and everything goes smoothly. Good people will be rewarded." Chapter 975. A child's world was always naive and simple. Just like Su Yiyan at that time, she felt that anyone who helped her was a good person. Because this was a good person, she hoped that this good person would always be good and occasionally help others who needed help like her. The little girl's tender voice kept echoing in Hua Chenhuan's ears, calming him down for a moment. But it was only for a moment. When Yu Zian handed this bouquet of flowers to him, Hua Chenhuan was indeed stunned for a moment, but he quickly came back to his senses. He didn't continue to smash things, but he asked Yu Zian to take the flowers out and throw them away. Yu Zian was also very confused at that time. He stood there stupidly, not knowing what to do with the flowers. Fortunately, Zui Yanbai knew the inside story early on, and the driver had woken up before Hua Chenhuan to understand the whole story. He vaguely hinted to Yu Zian to take the flowers out, but didn't ask him to really throw them away. Instead, he asked him to temporarily put them away so that Hua Chenhuan wouldn't see them. Sure enough, after Hua Chenhuan's legs were broken, his parents were dead, and most of the family's assets went to his eldest brother. He went from being favored by the heavens to being a cripple that no one cared about. Suddenly, one day, he took the initiative to ask about this bouquet of flowers. Yu Zian was completely dumbfounded at that time. He subconsciously glanced at Zui Yanbai as if to say, "How did you predict the future? That's amazing." Hua Chenhuan recalled the scene at that time, and the corners of his lips curled up slightly. He would never have thought that he would fall in love with the owner of this bouquet of flowers so many years later. He would even marry her and have a child with her. He also used another method to preserve this bouquet of flowers, and it became a witness to their first meeting. "Are you curious when I fell in love with you?" Su Yiyan's eyes lit up slightly, and she hurriedly nodded. "Yes. Actually, I don't know. At that time, I only felt that everything was suddenly gone. My parents were gone, my uncle was also scolded away by me, and my elder brother's family was even more disgusting. Those people who used to flatter and fawn on me all changed their faces and became disgusting. I felt cold and empty. I couldn't find anything that made me feel warm and wanted to live. Then, I thought of the bouquet of flowers you gave me. I thought of you." Hua Chenhuan also felt that it was inconceivable now that she thought about it. Logically speaking, the people closest to him would either turn against him or be excluded by him. It should be even more impossible for him to trust others and let a person he had only met once enter his heart. But sometimes, fate was such a wonderful thing. When I asked them to investigate you, 2 or 3 years had already passed. At that time, you were already in junior high school. As Hua Chenhuan spoke, he glanced at the photo that Su Yiyan had taken out earlier and commented seriously, "You don't look as cute as before, but you've become prettier." Su Yiyan's little face blushed slightly, and she looked up to glare at him angrily. "At first, I asked them to investigate you because I wanted to know how you were doing, whether you were safe, and whether you had grown up. But after looking at the photos they brought back, I don't know what happened, but I asked them to find a group of people to follow you. At first, they only took photos of you in school or when you went out to play with your friends and classmates. Once every 2 or 3 months, or once every 1 or 2 months. Later on, it became half a month, a week, 3 days. After that, other than taking photos, they would occasionally take videos of you fooling around with your friends and family." Chapter 976. When Hua Chenhuan talked about this, his eyes lit up. Obviously, he liked the experience of secretly watching and guarding the treasure. Perhaps it was just like the saying that people were always greedy. When something was missing in their lives, they would uncontrollably be attracted by the thing that was missing. That period of time was the darkest period of Hua Chenhuan's life. He, who was addicted to hell, naturally yearned for light the most. And Su Yiyan happened to be the light that suddenly shone into his heart. Of course, other than taking pictures and videos, I also sent people to protect you in disguise. I don't want something like that to happen to you again." "Really?" Su Yiyan was skeptical. Why did these words sound so guilty? Hua Chenhuan nodded seriously, but then he seemed to have thought of something and his face darkened. "Although I'm not sure when I fell in love with you, I was really sure of my feelings for you when you just started your first year of university." Su Yiyan blinked and was a little confused. First year of university? Did something special happen in her first year of university? When you just started your first year of university, a boy confessed to you. Su Yiyan was stunned. It seemed that There was such a thing. The Su family had a strict upbringing. They supported free love, but did not support puppy love. Su Yiyan was beautiful, had a good family background, and had a good personality. Naturally, there were many people who wanted to pursue her. But before she became an adult, her sister-obsessed older brother guarded her strictly. Even if these people had bad intentions, they were already rejected. When Su Yiyan went to university and became an adult, although Su Yuxuan was reluctant to let his baby sister be taken away by a big bad wolf, he also knew that he could stop her from finding a partner for the rest of her life. In the end, he did not obstruct her and let this fish escape the net. Su Yiyan carefully recalled the scene when she was confessed to. She vaguely remembered that it was a tall and strong boy, with lumps of meat all over his body. He was also a little tanned. He was the kind of guy who could give girls a great sense of security. Unfortunately, he was not her cup of tea. Ahem, now that you mention it, it does seem to be the case. So, you're jealous because someone confessed to me? Hua Chenhuan's face darkened. She snorted coldly and looked as if she was about to die from jealousy. Su Yiyan was a little overwhelmed by the delayed vinegar. He chuckled and said, "Then should I thank that big brother for letting you see your heart clearly so early?" "You still want to thank him?" Hua Chenhuan's face suddenly darkened. The overflowing sour gas was like a flood that could not be stopped. Su Yiyan was amused by him. She hurriedly hugged his arm and coaxed, "No need to thank me. All right, don't be angry. Actually, if you hadn't suddenly brought it up, I wouldn't have even remembered it, let alone remember this person. Now, I don't even remember what he looks like. I only vaguely remember that he's not my type. I rejected him at that time, a very, very thorough rejection." Hua Chenhuan's expression became a little better because of Su Yiyan's words, but he was quickly driven away by her next two sentences. He asked seriously, "He's not your type? Then what kind of type do you like?" Su Yiyan. Why is this guy's focus always so unexpected? This is actually a question of death. Chapter 977. Well. Su Yiyan rubbed her chin and pretended to be deep in thought. Under Hua Chenhuan's intense gaze, she said quietly, "I like handsome and rich men who love me more than anything else. They put me first in everything. They will give me a small garden, an island, and a villa. When I am tired from walking, they will carry me on their back. When I am sad, they will try their best to make me happy. When I am scared, they will hug and comfort me. As long as it is related to me, it is no small matter in his eyes. Oh, by the way." Su Yiyan looked up with a smile when she said this. "This person must have the surname Hua and be the father of my child." The more Hua Chenhuan listened, the more he felt that something was wrong. By the end, the tips of his ears had uncontrollably turned red. How could he not tell that Su Yiyan was coaxing him? Su Yiyan saw the change in his expression. She rolled her eyes and asked knowingly, "Are you not angry anymore?" Hua Chenhuan glanced at her meaningfully but did not say anything. Su Yiyan stood on her tiptoes and kissed him on the cheek. "How about this?" Only then did Hua Chenhuan reluctantly reply, "Yes." Su Yiyan was angry and amused at the same time. She did not expose Hua Xiaoheng's secret happiness. She also did not ask Hua Chenhuan why he did not take the initiative to chase all the men who wanted to get close to her, including Hua Xiaofeng, out of her safe zone since he had already seen through Hua Xiaofeng's feelings for her so long ago and was even jealous. She could not ask. The only thing she could ask was that at that time, his leg did not allow him to bravely pursue her like all the other healthy men. He could only secretly suppress his jealousy and suffer internal injuries. Su Yiyan's heart ached for Hua Chenhuan, but she was still very angry. She was not angry at Hua Chenhuan, but at the people who had caused Hua Chenhuan's tragedy. Hua Chenhuan seemed to sense Su Yiyan's emotions. He hugged her and whispered, "I'm sorry." Su Yiyan sniffled and said gloomily, "Why are you apologizing? I should have been more courageous when it came to you. I should have found a way to meet you after you rejected that man and confirmed my feelings for you. I should have told you how I felt about you. Even if you reject me, it doesn't matter. I will try my best to treat you well and let you know that no man in this world can treat you like I do." The one thing that Hua Chenhuan regretted the most over the years was that she knew what kind of person Hua Xiaofeng was and that he was not good enough for Su Yiyan. However, because of her subtle inferiority complex and shameful thoughts, She did not step in to stop their marriage in time and gave Hua Xiaofeng a chance to hurt Su Yiyan. When Su Yiyan heard what he said, her tears immediately turned into laughter. What nonsense are you talking about? It was not that she had never thought that if Hua Chunhuan had expressed his feelings to her earlier and stepped in to stop her marriage with Hua Xiaofeng, everything would have been different. However, after thinking about it, she realized that if Hua Chunhuan had really done that, perhaps her marriage with Hua Xiaofeng would not have been successful. However, she had not experienced the things of her previous life. She had followed Hua Chunhuan as a ghost and watched him do so many things for her. She had gradually understood this person and fell in love with him. Perhaps, she would not have chosen to be with Hua Chunhuan at that time. It could only be said that no one in this world could predict the future. Even if you felt that there were many things that you regretted, you would realize that everything had been arranged when you looked back. Rashly changing things might not really go as you wished and create the good karma you wanted. Chapter 978. Su Yiyan lay in Hua Chunhuan's arms to calm himself down. Then he asked tentatively, "Can I ask you a question?" "What is it?" "You just said that when your father was seriously injured in an accident and hospitalized, you removed his oxygen mask with your own hands. What happened?" Although Su Yiyan had never met Hua Chunhuan's father, he could tell that Hua Chunhuan loved his father very much from the way he talked about his father several times. If that was the case, how could he kill his father with his own hands? There must be some hidden story behind this. After Su Yiyan asked the question, he carefully looked at Hua Chunhuan. He seemed to feel that this topic was a little cruel. He couldn't help but back out. "It's okay if you don't want to talk about it. There's nothing that can't be said." As soon as Su Yiyan finished speaking, Hua Chunhuan said, "Have I ever told you that during that accident, my father tried his best to protect my mother? But sometimes, God likes to joke around. My father was seriously injured, but in the end, it was my mother who died first. She didn't make it to the hospital. My father was seriously injured at that time. When he woke up, several days had passed. I had just woken up not long ago. When I learned that something had happened to them, I struggled to find them. What I got was the news of my mother's death and the bad news that my father was still in danger." When Hua Chunhuan said this, his hands began to unconsciously clench. Seeing this, Su Yiyan quickly reached out to touch the back of his hand and comforted him in a low voice. "It's okay, it's okay. I'm here. I'll be with you." With Su Yiyan's comfort, Hua Chunhuan's mood improved a little. However, his tightly clenched hands still didn't relax. I broke down. I ran to find him like crazy, but I never thought that the first thing he did when he saw me was beg me. "Beg you? Beg you for what?" "He begged me to remove his oxygen mask." "Why?" Su Yiyan was stunned. She never thought that a father, and a father who loved his child very much, would make such a request to his own son. "He already knows, or rather, feels that my mother is no longer alive. He loved my mother too much. He couldn't accept not having my mother by his side for the rest of his life. Moreover, he was seriously injured at that time. His internal organs were bleeding, and all his indicators were in the danger zone. He could die at any time. Even if he's lucky enough to be saved, he won't be able to live for more than a few years. Furthermore, he'll be tormented by illness for the last few years. It'll be very painful." "So, you agreed to his request and helped him remove the oxygen mask?" "Yeah." Hua Chunhuan responded in a low voice, forcing a smile on her face. "Now you know why Hua Xiaofeng was so afraid of me, right? No matter how many times he called me a cripple behind my back, he didn't dare to refute me in front of me. He was afraid that I would do something to him. They all knew that I killed my father with my own hands. They thought I was crazy, but they couldn't kill me, so they could only stay away from me. They were afraid that I would kill them one day, just like how I killed my father." "Stop it! Stop it!" Su Yiyan hugged Hua Chunhuan tightly and cried even harder than before. Although she could understand her father's decision and could imagine how much he loved his wife back then, she could not help feeling angry and resentful towards him. Why should Hua Chunhuan be the one to fulfill your beautiful and heartbreaking love for the both of you? He was only a child back then. Why did he have to bear such a burden? Why was she so cruel to him? Chapter 979. Hua Chenhuan was a little overwhelmed by his wife's sudden outburst of emotions. He patted Su Yiyen's shoulder with heartache and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, "You were the one who asked first. Why did you cry even harder than me after hearing it? If someone saw this, they would definitely think that I bullied you." "Yes, you bullied me." Su Yiyen wiped her tears on Hua Chenhuan's shirt and said miserably, "Why are you so stupid? He asked you to do this and you did it? What will others think of you if this gets out?" It could be seen from the strange reaction of Hua Qihan's family that those who knew the inside story might not necessarily understand Hua Chenhuan's actions, let alone those outsiders who only cared about the results and never cared about the inside story. They were good at using their own ideas out of context. At that time, perhaps Zhang Qianyang was suppressing him, or perhaps Hua Qihan was worried that this matter would get out and the stock price of the Hua Group would plummet, which would hurt his interests. If this matter got out, it was very likely that it would become a sharp weapon for Hua Qihan to bring down Hua Chenhuan and make him unable to make a comeback. However, Zhang Qianyang's power at that time was really not something that Hua Qihan could compete with. If Hua Qihan dared to expose this matter and make Hua Chenhuan lose everything, Zhang Qianyang could turn around and make him spit out as much as he had eaten, leaving him with nothing. At the thought of this, Su Yiyen felt lucky and distressed. Although the rumors outside were hurtful, no matter how hurtful it was not as painful as when Hua Chenhuan made up his mind to help his father. That was his most beloved father, who was once regarded as a towering mountain and omnipotent. In the end, he died in his hands and watched him slowly die. If it were her, she was afraid that she would be traumatized. It's all in the past. He was obviously the one who was hurt the most in this matter, but now he had to turn around and comfort the person who was sad for him. Su Yiyen's tears were about to stop, but after hearing what he said, they started flowing again. Seeing this, Hua Chenhuan felt both heartache and helplessness. She said hoarsely, Yan, actually, I used to be jealous of you." "Jealous of me?" Hua Chenhuan did not say anything. She lowered her head and stared at Su Yiyen for a long time. Hua Chenhuan was not lying. He was indeed jealous of Su Yiyen. They were both a family of 4, but the Su family situation was indeed many times better than the family Hua's. Su Yiyen was the darling of everyone in the family. Her parents loved her dearly, and her brother doted on her very much. There had never been a situation where they hurt each other because of competing for attention. During the most bitter period, Hua Chenhuan's heart was filled with ruthlessness. Because of this jealousy, she even thought of destroying her. Why was he in so much pain, living in a dark hell every day, suffering both physical and mental torture? No matter how hard he struggled, he could not be saved, but she could be so happy? He wanted to pull her down to be with him, but the last trace of rationality in him told him that if he really did that, his world would really fall into darkness and be bleak for the rest of his life. Therefore, the reason why he did not dare to get close to Su Yiyen was partly because he felt inferior, and partly because he was worried that he would lose control and unconsciously hurt her. Su Yiyen did not wait for Hua Chenhuan's reply, but she could roughly guess what he was thinking. She sniffed and said, "It's okay. You don't have to be jealous now. I'm yours, and everything I have is also yours. My family is your family, and my family is also your family." Chapter 980. Hua Chenhuan looked straight into Su Yiyen's big eyes, which were full of seriousness and affection. He smiled slightly and said solemnly, "Thank you." Su Yiyen was a little confused. "Thank me for what?" "Thank you for being willing to marry me. Thank you for being willing to share your family with me. Thank you for being willing to work so hard to give birth to a baby for me." Su Yiyen blushed when she heard what he said, but then she seemed to think of something. She reached out and hugged Hua Chenhuan's neck. She smiled and said, "I think it's too lonely to have only one baby, Zai. Why don't we work harder and give him a younger brother or sister?" Su Yiyen liked children, and she was the youngest in the family. Although the elders liked her, there were not many people of the same age around her. The children of the collateral branch were only 2 or 3 years younger than her, but most of them were very strange. Su Yiyen didn't like to play with them. She had hoped to have a younger brother or sister of the same age to play with her since she was a child. She didn't realize this wish, so she put her hope on her baby. She wanted to have another child, whether it was a boy or a girl. She wanted them to accompany each other and have a warm, happy and worry-free childhood. Hua Chenhuan didn't agree with Su Yiyen's proposal. Thinking of Su Yiyen's various discomforts during her pregnancy and the helpless situation outside the delivery room when she gave birth, Hua Chenhuan didn't want Su Yiyen to suffer again. One is enough. Now many families don't have one. It's troublesome to have too many children. Su Yiyen looked up at him pitifully. Don't you like the baby? Hua Chenhuan. It's not that I don't like it. I just don't want you to suffer again. But I don't think it's so hard to have a baby. On the contrary, I enjoy it. When I'm pregnant, I can stay at home and do nothing. You would accompany me and take me out for a walk every day. When I was tired, you would massage me. When I felt uncomfortable, you would hug me and comfort me. When my feet were swollen, you would soak my feet every day and coax me to sleep. You would spoil me like a little princess. Hua Chenhuan couldn't help laughing. What you said, even if you weren't pregnant, I could still do it for you. But that's different. What I mean is that it's more satisfying to enjoy these things while pregnant. It feels like our family is firmly leaning against each other and will never be separated. Hua Chenhuan lowered her head and touched Su Yiyen's forehead. She did not object to Su Yiyen's suggestion, but she did not agree to it directly either. Xing is still young. If we ask for another one now, we might neglect him. Su Yiyen was slightly startled, and his gaze wavered. Besides, you just gave birth not long ago. It's not good for your health to continue giving birth. I'm not against having another child, but now is not a good time. Su Yiyen pondered for a moment. She had to admit that Hua Chenhuan's words made some sense. She pursed her lips and said disappointedly, "Okay." Hua Chenhuan couldn't help laughing when he saw her like this. He said in a hoarse voice, "We can have another child in the future, but there's something we can do now." Before Su Yiyen could finish her words, she was kissed by someone who lowered his head. The rest of the words were swallowed into the stomach by someone, and he didn't have a chance to speak again for the rest of the night. People say that what you think about during the day, you dream about it at night. Hua Chenhuan hadn't had this dream for a long time. After experiencing a series of shocks such as paralysis of the lower body, the death of her mother, and personally pulling off her father's oxygen mask, Hua Chenhuan had seen a psychologist for a long time. Chapter 981. During this period of time, he basically had the same nightmare every night. In his dream, he was back in the cramped intensive care unit. He was in a wheelchair as he looked at his father, who was wrapped up like a mummy. He wore an oxygen mask and had all sorts of machines attached to his body. Hua Chenhuan was a stranger to her father, especially when she was in her teens. Hua Chenhuan was no different. Back then, he still had the naivety of a young man and regarded his father as a hero who could hold up the sky for him. Now that he had fallen, Hua Chenhuan's world had collapsed as well. Hua Jinyan noticed Hua Chenhuan's arrival and moved his lips under the oxygen mask. Hua Chenhuan leaned closer and heard him asking about his wife's whereabouts. Your mom. Your mom. Hua Chenhuan's heart wrenched. However, she tried her best to remain calm and forced a smile. It's fine. Mom is fine. Dad, take care of yourself. Mom is waiting for you. She is waiting for you to get better. Hua Jinyan did not say anything. He looked at Hua Chenhuan deeply for a long time before he said, Don't lie to me. I know. Your mom is gone. Hua Chenhuan's heart skipped a beat. She was dumbfounded. After some time, she composed herself and hurriedly said, No. Dad, who told you that? Mom is fine. She is fine. No one told me. Hua Jinyan struggled to speak. His face was ashen, and he looked like a withered tree that had lost all signs of life. He looked old and frail. I could feel it. Back then. I was holding your mom. She was bleeding non-stop, and we were stuck in the car. We kept waiting for someone to save us, but no one came. Later, your mom fell asleep. I kept calling her, but she didn't respond. I could feel people coming and going. They separated us. I wanted to hold on to her, but I couldn't. I knew she was leaving. I couldn't stop her. I couldn't stop her. Hua Jinyan's speech was intermittent and was not as coherent as he usually was. When Hua Chenhuan heard the gist of it, Her nose started to sting. Zhang Qianyang still didn't allow him to see his mother for the last time. When he returned with Zhuo Yanbai and the others, he knew that his mother's death wasn't any better than Zhuo Yanbai's. Hua Chenhuan wanted to go and take a look, but he was also afraid to. This was his subconscious avoidance. It seemed that as long as he did not go, he could deceive himself that his mother was still alive. The woman who loved him the most, who doted on him the most, who always looked at him with a gentle smile, was still there. I couldn't make her stay, so I could only go with her. Hua Jinyan turned to look at Hua Chenhuan with a strange eagerness in his eyes. Chenhuan, do you understand me? It's too lonely for your mother to walk alone. Daddy wants to accompany her. I can't let her walk alone. Hua Chenhuan did not understand what her father meant, but she was still shocked. Dad, what did you say? Mom is all ready. How can you accompany her? Hua Jinyan did not say a word. Instead, he looked at his youngest son, who was also his only son, with a conflicted expression. Perhaps he knew that this was too cruel for a teenager, but he had no other choice. Only Hua Chenhuan could help him at a time like this. Hua Chenhuan was also the only person he could trust. Instead of living in such a painful half-dead state, it would be better to end all troubles and leave with his wife. Chapter 982. Chenhuan, are your legs in pain? Hua Chenhuan was stunned. His eyes turned red instantly. He looked like a child who had finally found a safe haven after being bullied. He showed all his vulnerability and sadness to his closest family. Yes. It hurts a lot. Daddy is in pain too. His hands and feet hurt. His whole body hurts, but his heart hurts the most. Daddy and Mommy love you the most. You can't bear to see me suffer like this forever, right? Hua Chenhuan's face was as white as a sheet. Tears rolled down his cheeks uncontrollably. He instinctively wanted to retreat. He wanted to escape from the room and the man on the hospital bed who looked like a complete stranger to him. However, he could not control his hands. It was as though he had been bewitched. He touched the transparent oxygen mask with trembling hands and moved it away from his father's face under his father's encouraging gaze. Hua Jinyan's life was still in danger due to the bleeding in his organs. Now that he had lost the oxygen mask, his breathing gradually quickened and became weaker. Less than a minute had passed, but Hua Chenhuan felt as though a lifetime had passed. Asterisk clang. Asterisk Hua Qihan and Hua Jinyan stared at Hua Jinyan in horror. They had brought a bunch of things over to visit Hua Jinyan. Hua Chenhuan turned his head and met their shocked and terrified gazes. It was as though they had seen a terrifying monster. After the things fell to the ground with a loud thud, everything seemed to come to an end. Boundless darkness instantly engulfed Hua Chenhuan's vision. Hua Chenhuan, who had regained some of his consciousness, instinctively clenched his fists when he saw the familiar darkness. He knew very well what would happen after this. Even the psychiatrist had no idea what would happen after this. Everything would come to an abrupt end. That was because the nightmares that he had repeated countless times would end with his father's ashen face after the oxygen mask was removed and his mother's bloody body after the car accident. What was even more frightening was that his mother, who he used to love the most, would turn around and question him with a ferocious look on her face after discovering his existence. Why did he kill his father with his own hands? As the main culprit, his father, who had instigated him to make a move, was only silently guarding behind his mother, giving him a sinister and twisted smile. Every time this happened, Hua Chenhuan would wake up from her sleep and sit with her eyes wide open for the whole night, unable to fall asleep again. This time, he learned his lesson and closed his eyes before the two of them appeared. However, the expected questioning and cursing did not appear. Instead, a hand appeared, a warm hand that Hua Chenhuan was incomparably familiar with. That hand fell on his head and gently stroked his hair. In an instant, Hua Chenhuan was pulled back to his childhood, when the three of them went up to the mountain villa for a vacation. In the garden that his father had painstakingly built, his mother would always let him lie down and rest his head on her lap. She would caress his head from time to time and sing a melodious lullaby. Mom! Hua Chenhuan couldn't resist the temptation and opened her eyes. What entered her eyes was the familiar gentle smile of the woman. Child, you've worked hard. Behind the woman was the bright and dazzling sun. It shone on her body as if she was plated with a gentle halo. She was beautiful and elegant. Intoxicating. Don't blame your father. I've already helped you teach him a lesson. After saying that, the woman turned her head and looked behind her. Hua Chenhuan followed her gaze and saw his father, who was silently watching them not far away. Chapter 983. Hua Chenhuan was familiar with the gentle smile on his face. His hair had turned slightly white, but he was still as tall as a pine tree. It was not the pale and weak man who was lying on the hospital bed on his deathbed. Instead, it was the man whom Hua Chenhuan looked up to in the deepest recesses of her memory. She even saw him as a role model. He was her father. Their appearance was too sudden and unexpected. Hua Chenhuan was in a daze for a long time until his mother's voice rang out again, snapping him out of his daze. It's about time. We should go. Go. Where to? Hua Chenhuan's lips moved slightly. She wanted to say something, but she realized she could not make a sound. She could not even move. It's time for you to go back. Her mother patted Hua Chenhuan's head again. Her gentle voice carried a hint of an elder's love for her child. Hua Chenhuan could vaguely detect a hint of reluctance in her voice. Live well and treat the people who love you well. Daddy and Mommy will love you forever. Teenagers who were 15 or 16 years old were already taller than their mothers. However, they instinctively crouched down in front of their parents. When they were young, their parents would squat down to look them in the eye and talk to them. His soft lips landed on Hua Chenhuan's forehead. His voice was filled with the blessings and expectations of his parents, as well as their reluctance and worry for him. When he raised his head again, he realized that the person who had been standing in front of him a while ago had already walked away. Hua Jinyan smiled gently and extended his hand to his wife, who was walking over slowly from about 10 meters away. Hua Jinyan interlocked his fingers with hers as well. The sunlight shone on the two of them, illuminating their smiling faces. It was heartwarming and beautiful. They reminded Hua Chenhuan of the warm memories from her childhood. However, back then, Hua Jinyan was an accident to this pair of true love. Even if he was occasionally forgotten, he would quietly watch them display their affection for each other. Now, he could only watch as the two of them walked further and further away, disappearing from his sight bit by bit. Chenhuan. Chenhuan. Hua Chenhuan blinked uncomfortably. He looked blankly at Su Yiyen, who was squatting beside him. She looked anxious and helpless. Su Yiyen heaved a sigh of relief when she saw Hua Jinyan waking up. She probed. Did you have a nightmare? Nightmare? Hua Chenhuan wiped his face and sat up. He recalled what he had seen in his dream and smiled gently. No, it was a sweet dream. Sweet dream. Su Yiyen. Who would cry when they had a sweet dream? She had been by Hua Chenhuan's side for a long time, but this was the first time she had seen him cry so hard. Hua Chenhuan had not been so sad even when she had died in a car accident in her previous life. However, at that time, Hua Chenhuan's heart was like dead ashes. He didn't care about anything. Naturally, he couldn't cry. It couldn't be compared to this. Hua Chenhuan responded in a low voice. He leaned over and kissed Su Yiyen. This successfully frightened Su Yiyen, who was still thinking. What are you doing? Nothing. I just suddenly wanted to kiss you. Su Yiyen glanced at him suspiciously. Are you really okay? Yes. Hua Chenhuan didn't know why he suddenly had this dream, but he had a premonition that this time, they were really far away from each other forever. Recalling what his mother had said in the dream, Hua Chenhuan felt that she must be referring to the people guarding him at this moment. Thinking of this, Hua Chenhuan only felt his heart boiling. He wanted to hug Su Yiyen and kiss her a few more times. Chapter 984. Su Yiyen was creeped out by his stare. Just as she was about to speak, there was a knock on the door, and she could faintly hear her precious son's cries. Su Yiyen's attention was instantly attracted. She left Hua Chenhuan and quickly ran out. The moment the door opened, the little boy, who had already cried with snot bubbles, burped at the right time. He looked miserably at his mother with tears in his big eyes. His pitiful little eyes directly hit Su Yiyen's heart, making her surrender on the spot. She reached out and hugged him into her arms. You go first. I'll coax him. The nanny was relieved. She nodded and left. Su Yan took the child into the room. The little guy was really picky. Previously, when the nanny carried him, he was crying with snot and tears. As soon as he entered Su Yan's arms, although he still sniffled and trembled, at least he did not cry anymore. Su Yan put the child on the bed, face up. She reached out and touched his little belly to make sure that he was not crying because of hunger. She lifted the diaper to take a look. It was dry and clean, without any trace of wetting. "You only know how to torment your father and me." After Su Yan finished speaking, she still did not vent her anger and patted her son's chubby little butt. The little boy seemed to understand his mother's words. He cried out, showing his tender teeth. He also tried to reach out his little short hands to hug Su Yan's fingers and acted like a spoiled child. Su Yan's heart melted after his teasing. How could she still be angry? Hua Chenhuan saw that his wife's attention was all attracted by the little boy. He said sourly, "You spoil him too much." The nature of mother and son was a very strange thing. Su Yan did not spend much time at home. The child spent most of his time with Uncle Zhang and the nanny, but the child was especially clingy to Su Yan. As long as she was at home, she had to feed him in the morning and at night. Otherwise, he would throw a little tantrum and cry. Hua Chenhuan had long been displeased with this little guy who occupied his wife's free time. His wife had suffered so much when she was pregnant with him. When she finally gave birth to him, she still had to take care of him every day. She didn't even have time to be alone with him. Occasionally, when the two of them shared a bed and wanted to hug each other, the little guy would howl so loudly that the nanny had no choice but to carry him to Su Yan for help. It was more accurate than a radar. The result of his disturbance was that the original two-person world would be forced to become a harmonious daily life of a family of three. Hua Chenhuan's initial expectations and soft-heartedness towards the little fellow had completely turned into disgust and vigilance after he had stolen Su Yan's attention time and time again. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have wanted a child so early. How was he here to be their son? He was clearly here to collect debts. At this moment, Hua Chenhuan suddenly understood his father's mistake of leaving him outside and forgetting to pick him up. Now, he also really wanted to pack this little bastard up and throw him out. He would pick him up after a year and a half. That was why it was said that parents were true love, but children were all accidents. Little Xingxing seemed to have heard his old father bad-mouthing him. He glanced at him with his big eyes and suddenly snorted. He turned his back, not wanting to see this bad father who was bad-mouthing him. In the end, because he was too small, he could not turn over completely even after a long time. Finally, when he was about to turn over, Hua Chenhuan stuck out a finger and poked him back to his original position in a particularly annoying manner. Chapter 985. Victory was right in front of his eyes, but he was beaten back to square one. Moreover, this person was the culprit of his quarrel. The little guy was full of grievances. Finally, he could not help but pout and burst into tears. Seeing this, Su Yan slapped away Hua Chenhuan's hand and picked up the child. At the same time, she rolled her eyes at a certain someone, as if to say, "Childish." Hua Chenhuan. He really could not control his hand that wanted to hit and bully the child. What should he do? Because of this little episode in the morning, little Xingxing did not forgive his father who liked to bully him even after Su Yan and Su Yan finished their breakfast. He refused to be carried by him and was taken away by the nanny and Yuan Yuan. When Su Yan saw this scene, she felt sympathetic and amused. She gloated and said, "You deserve it. Did you really think that you could bully a child who did not know anything?" Although their baby was young, he was very vengeful. Hua Chenhuan. It was bad enough that he was despised by the little guy, but he was also ridiculed by his wife. It was really too difficult for him to be at the bottom of the family food chain. Big Boss Hua, who had lost in his first battle for Hua Jinyao's favor, was feeling extremely depressed. As for Su Yan, who was the target of the fight between the father and son, she was in a good mood after watching the drama between the father and son. She had forgotten all the bad things that happened 2 days ago. And this good mood continued until the stores and companies under her name started to send in good news one after another. Su Yan took the opportunity to invite people to her house for a barbecue to broadcast a few practical small medicine packs. Not long after the broadcast ended, the small medicine packs went online on time in the physical store. Except for some people who lived close to the store and did not have much free time to eat the ready-made medicine packs in the store, most people chose to buy the medicine packs and make them at home. Some people who lived far away and could not eat or buy the medicine packs in the store personally had relatives and friends in the local area. They could ask them to buy the medicine packs and send them over. Their relatives and friends, as well as themselves, who were not in the area, could only watch as buyers flooded the social circles one by one, while they could only drool through the screen. These people quickly joined forces and swarmed over to Su Yiyen's live streaming account and the store's public account to leave messages asking to open an online store. The people in the shop couldn't make the decision, so they simply reported it to Su Yiyen. It just so happened that Yi Qilyang and other researchers saw that her medicine packs were selling well and had good reviews, so they wanted to take this opportunity to work with her and promote some simple and practical Chinese medicine prescriptions and medicine packs. Su Yiyen did not have any objections to this. She was willing to cooperate if she could benefit the public without harming her own interests. Su Yiyen would be considered a shareholder of the technology. After he gave them the recipe, he would leave the rest of the work to others. He would just be a shopkeeper who didn't have to do anything and collected the money leisurely. In addition to this matter, there was finally a new development in Ding Juxi's marital-extramarital affair. Did Ding Juixi and Hai Yi issue an announcement to clarify things? Yes. How did they clarify things? How else can they clarify things? Xia Junxing recalled Hai Yi's extremely perfunctory clarification and really felt that it would be difficult for Ding Juixi to survive this time. Just say that they are just colleagues working in the same production team. The intimate actions that were filmed were just part of the script and they were just rehearsing. Chapter 986. Audition. Su Yiyen's eyes were full of mockery. They have an emotional scene in that drama? Xia Junxing also laughed. Isn't it up to them whether there is or not? Can the crew jump out to refute them at this time? After all, they were the same crew. They were bound together for good or ill. Wen Jingping was fine, but Ding Juixi was acting as the second male lead in that drama. He was already halfway through filming and couldn't be replaced. Otherwise, the loss of the crew was no joke. In order to recover this loss, the crew was bound to be dragged down. Even if there were no emotional scenes, they could still make some emotional scenes for him. If it really didn't work, they could say that the original scenes were deleted because of the negative impact of this incident. Anyway, words were dead, but the people who spoke were alive, so they could say whatever they wanted. As for going to their respective rooms in the middle of the night, it was also to check the script. At that time there were other people in the room, not just the two of them. Xia Junxing summarized Hai Yi's clarification statement and added, "Anyway, the reporters who broke the news couldn't have really filmed what they did in the room. Even if they did, in a harmonious society, they couldn't publish it even if they wanted to. If they weren't careful, they could easily get themselves implicated. Naturally, they can say whatever they want." Su Yiyen looked up at Xia Junxing and chuckled. The key to this matter is not what they say, but whether other people, especially their fans and investors who are willing to support them, are willing to believe it. After Hai Yi's statement was released, how did the media and Ding Juixi's fans react? What other reaction can there be? After so long, those who wanted to stop being fans have already done so. The rest are mostly die-hard fans who won't shed tears until they see the coffin. Not to mention that Hai Yi Art gave them a perfunctory explanation. Even if they didn't give them an explanation, they would find another way to whitewash their idol's reputation from all sides. These people are persistent, but unfortunately, their persistence is in the wrong place and they are fans of the wrong person. Isn't that right? Who hasn't met a few scumbags when they were young? Even I feel a little sorry for them. However, it was only a little. She thought about how these people had insulted and even cursed other artists, reporters, and even rival artists who were in the same period as Ding Juixi but had developed better than him in order to defend Ding Juixi. Xia Junxing felt that the saying, like idol, like fan made sense. One was willing to hit while the other was willing to be hit. If you felt sorry for them, they might even laugh at you for being silly. Unfortunately, no matter how persistent these people are, they can't compare to a single word from an investor. Ever since Ding Juixi became popular, he had been selling his image as a good husband and man. Many business partners wanted to work with him because of his image. Now that he's done something like this, There are a lot of partners who want to hold him accountable for breaking the contract. Those who originally thought highly of him and wanted to work with him definitely won't continue to do so. It doesn't matter whether it's now or in the future. His character has collapsed. His future days won't be easy. Su Yiyan sneered. His life couldn't have been any better. Have you forgotten that he has a powerful father-in-law and brother-in-law? He relied on his wife to start his business, but in the end, he abandoned his wife and children. How ungrateful. Don't people in the entertainment industry believe in luck? If he took the initiative to push out a wife who brings good luck to him, not only will his luck be gone, but the benefits he obtained from her will also be taken back double. This is called backlash. Chapter 987. Su Yiyan seemed to have thought of something when she said this. She frowned and asked in a low voice, "Speaking of which, have they divorced?" "It's already going through the procedures, but the specific division of property and custody of the two children are a little troublesome. Madame Wang insists on letting Ding Jueси leave the marriage with nothing, and she wants the custody of the two children." Ding Juexi's wife's surname was Wang. Ever since she moved out of the Ding family's small apartment, she insisted that people call her by her original name instead of Madame Ding. It was obvious that she had made up her mind to cut off all ties with Ding Jueси and not have any relationship with him in name anymore. Su Yiyan could understand Madame Wang's thoughts. They were both mothers. When she suddenly found out that the man who had been by her side for more than 10 years was a beast in human skin, she would never let the children she had painstakingly given birth to be by such a person's side. People said that parents were the first teachers of children. With such a teacher, it would be a miracle if the children could learn well. Is Madame Wang's request difficult? There is a certain level of difficulty, but with the Wang family's connections and financial resources, it's only a matter of time before they win the lawsuit. Su Yiyan nodded in satisfaction. When they sign the divorce agreement, we'll expose this matter. Didn't nothing happen? They've already divorced, so how can this be considered nothing? He really treats everyone like fools. His brainless fans like to be fools, but others don't like it. Su Yiyan didn't have much of a grudge against Ding Jueisi. She just hated this person. When she saw him, she couldn't help but think of Hua Xiaofan back then, and it was a low-end version of Hua Xiaofan. Wasn't it disgusting? By the way, where's Wen Jingping? Has she been in contact with Ding Jueisi recently? This time the matter was not small. Ding Jueisi was relatively famous, and he was a married man who had an affair. His image had collapsed, so there were more people following him. Naturally, there were more revelations. On the contrary, Wen Jingping, the third party who destroyed the harmony of other people's families, should have been reviled by everyone, but unexpectedly disappeared without a trace. She didn't come out to cry and cut ties with Ding Jueisi. She also didn't jump out rashly like before and try to use her innocent and harmless face to distort the truth and put a dignified name on her actions. Su Yiyan was not used to this. Could it be that because of the male lead's neglect, this female lead, whose protagonist aura had been constantly dropping, finally had some self-awareness and knew how to know her place? It didn't make sense. If she knew her place, she wouldn't have been so impatient to hook up with Ding Jueisi, the spare tire, after being ignored by Dou Tianyi for a few months. At that time, Su Yiyan would never have thought that Wen Jingping would unexpectedly pick up a cheat after losing Dou Tianyi. If this cheat didn't work hard to give her advice behind the scenes and repeatedly stop her from acting impulsively, Wen Jingping would have run out to dance. With such a troublesome host, Wen Jingping's system was really tired. Wen Jingping has less contact with Ding Jueisi recently. It seems that she has a new target. A new target? Su Yiyan was stunned. She was indeed the Mary Sue female lead who had a lot of spare tires in the original work. It had only been a few days, but she actually had a new target. Was she decisively abandoning the rook to save the king after seeing that the public opinion was in the wrong direction? If it was the situation in the original work, it would be fine. Although Wen Jingping in the original work was also a B*TCH and flirted with people in all kinds of ways, her heart was Hua Xiaofan. No matter how much she flirted with this group of people, she kept it within a limit and wouldn't easily cross the line. Chapter 988. Most importantly, she flirted with people one by one, capturing an important supporting male lead at a time, making them unswervingly loyal to her without any complaints. Even after discovering each other's existence, they would still silently sigh. She was such a good person, it was natural for so many people to like her. Weren't they also one of the people who silently protected her and liked her? It was a pity that they weren't the lucky ones to be chosen. When Su Yiyan saw it, she was quite shocked. She felt that these spare tires were really poisoned by the female lead's halo, each one more insane than the other. The current situation was very different from the original work. She hadn't even captured a supporting male lead, yet she turned around and flirted with another supporting male lead. She played the spare tires to the fullest. Was she really not afraid of screwing up? Su Yiyan rubbed her chin and pondered for a moment. She smiled and asked, "Who is her new target?" "It's the male lead of the drama they're currently filming." "The drama they're currently filming? The one Ding Juesi introduced her to?" Amazing! She entered the cast by relying on her relationship with the second male lead, then turned around and seduced the first male lead. She really has a set of tricks up her sleeves. Xia Junxing couldn't help but laugh when he heard her words. He echoed, "This Miss Wen's vision and speed in finding her next target are indeed incomparable to ordinary people." The phrase, "finding her next target," could be said to be very appropriate. When Xia Junxing first found out about Wen Jingping, he was blinded by the series of love and hate between this woman and his new boss and his boss's ex-fiancée. He originally thought that she was a daughter flower that relied on men. He didn't expect that she was actually a man-eating flower, the kind that ate people without spitting out the bones. Once you were targeted by her, you would first be infatuated with her. Without knowing anything, you would be squeezed dry by her. Then, she would abandon you without hesitation and turn to find a new target. Thinking about it carefully, she felt her hair stand on end. The people she targeted were really unlucky for several lifetimes. General Manager Xia sighed in his heart. He didn't know that if his boss hadn't pulled his money trees away in time, they would have become the first batch to be sucked dry. Even you think that she has good taste. Who is her new target this time? The male lead of their drama is Yin Jihong, the second young master of the Yin family. Yin family. Su Yiyan pursed her lips and tried hard to recall the original novel's contents. She was certain that the novel did not mention anything about the Yin family, nor was there any particularly important supporting male character named Yin Jihong. Could it be that this was an undeveloped NPC? Thinking up to this point, Su Yiyan's heart skipped a beat. Anyone who had played games before would know that hidden NPCs could turn into big bosses as they played. Could it be that this young master Yin? Seeing Su Yiyan's bewildered expression, Xia Junxing hurriedly explained, "You might not have heard of it, but the Yin family is a well-known family of actors. Almost every generation has someone who walks the path of acting. Yin Jihong is a direct descendant of the Yin family. His grandfather is a famous senior who is both virtuous and talented. His grandmother was once a famous actress in a play. His parents are singers and musicians respectively. It is said that Yin Jihong's acting skills were passed down to him by his grandfather. He was practically trained in this area since he was young. He could recite lines as soon as he learned how to speak. He could walk as soon as he learned how to walk." Su Yiyan's mouth twitched. He could recite lines as soon as he learned how to speak. He could walk as soon as he learned how to walk? Wasn't this child's childhood too tough? Chapter 989. Imagine eating breakfast and not knowing how to choose from a table of food. The child suddenly said, "I'm picky when it comes to relationships, and you're my type. Can you still eat?" Another example, after washing up at night, you're watching the stars with your lover on the balcony. The child comes out of nowhere and says in a sad and serious tone, "You're watching the snow, the stars and the moon with him, talking about poetry and life philosophy. Why don't you watch the snow, the stars and the moon with me, talking about poetry and life philosophy?" Can this couple's romantic little date continue? Another example, when the stairs are slippery and she accidentally slips and breaks her leg, the child suddenly says, "You've only lost a leg, but she's lost her love." Su Yiyan was so scared by her own imagination that she shuddered. She felt that if they were really raised like this, the parents would go crazy before the child went crazy. Xia Junxing looked at Su Yiyan's expression and knew that she must have imagined something. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, and he laughed softly. "Of course, it's just an exaggeration. Who would really teach acting at such a young age? Teaching singing and musical instruments is more reliable. It's said that when young Master Ian first debuted, he walked the path of a multi-talented and modest gentleman. He's proficient in all kinds of rare musical instruments and has a fancy singing voice. His ability is better than some of the male artists in the same period. Su Yiyan raised her eyebrows. Logically speaking, he should be very famous. Why haven't I heard of him before? His family background and connections are there. He's more low-key and doesn't walk the path of popularity. He only acts in a down-to-earth manner and occasionally goes on official variety shows to help promote ancient culture according to the instructions of the higher-ups. He doesn't even do publicity, not to mention scandals and the usual hype in the industry. Su Yiyan muttered, according to what you said, this young Master Ian is quite Buddhist? Isn't that so? It's a pity that he's been targeted by this woman. It'll be difficult for him to be Buddhist in the future. Xia Junxing seemed to have thought of something when he said this. He frowned and said, speaking of which, there's something I find quite strange. What is it? According to the information, Yin Jihong initially ignored Wen Jingping and kept his distance from her. He might have even heard some rumors about her. Every time this woman took the initiative to approach him, he avoided her like the plague. But not long ago, for some reason, Yin Jihong's attitude towards this woman suddenly changed. He started to go in and out with her. He even took over Ding Juexi's role as the director. Originally, many actors and actresses in the crew knew about the recent events and were prepared to laugh at the two involved parties. Now that Wen Jingping suddenly has Yin Jihong's support, even if these people are unhappy, they don't dare to mock Wen Jingping in front of her face. They don't even dare to make trouble for her behind her back. After hearing Xia Junxing's words, Su Yiyan frowned slightly. You're saying that Yin Jihong's first impression of Wen Jingping isn't good. It could even be said that it's very bad. But after the news of Wen Jingping being a mistress in someone else's family, Yin Jihong's impression of her changed. He became appreciative of her and even supported her? According to the information, that's indeed the case. This time, not only Xia Junxing, but even Su Yiyan realized that something was wrong. Could it be that she was wrong? It wasn't that Wen Jingping didn't pretend to be pitiful like before, but that she didn't pretend to be pitiful to the public, but to her new target. Chapter 990. Or was it because she had already snatched away half of the female lead halo? But was her previous female lead halo so powerful? Su Yiyan's doubts emerged one by one, making her instinctively feel uneasy. This matter is indeed a little strange. Get someone to continue to keep an eye on her first. If she does anything strange, tell me immediately. Su Yiyan was still a little worried as she said, don't let your guard down just because she's more well-behaved now. You've also noticed that she's a little strange. People who hate her may suddenly fall in love with her one day. It's impossible to guard against that. Keep an eye on her and you can take precautions. Although Xia Junxing didn't understand why Su Yiyan cared so much about this woman named Wen Jingping, as Su Yiyan said, some people might be born a little strange. They were usually quiet, but they might suddenly jump up and bite you. Although it wasn't fatal, it would definitely hurt. Xia Junxing didn't want to take this risk. Wen Jingping probably didn't expect that the strangeness between her and Yin Jihong would be noticed so quickly. Moreover, the person who noticed it was the person who could control her life and death at any time. The scandal between Ding Juexi and her was so fierce that it caught her off guard. Wen Jingping had been hiding for a few days. It wasn't easy for her to wait for Hai Yi's announcement. She thought that the matter would be over. She didn't expect that not long after this incident, the debut work that she had worked so hard to shoot would be released at this awkward time. Also released at the same time was the blood-sucking, dancing red. The result was obvious. The early publicity for Empress was still very strong. In addition, when they filmed this drama, they used the banner of restoring history. Except for some onlookers who were at the forefront and resolutely boycotted Wen Jingping because of the recent scandal of the mistress, the audience had never resolutely boycotted this drama. Some of the audience who were curious about this kind of theme or were interested in history were still very willing to take a look at this drama. As a result, the viewership ratings for the premiere of Empress were not low. The viewers were not easily fooled either. They were attracted by the initial announcement, but what really attracted them to continue watching was the quality of the show. After the first day's episode was broadcasted, the audience discovered that this drama was like many previous dramas that pretended to be historical, but acted out a cliché Mary Sue love story. All in all, it was a huge investment. The clothes were complicated, and the hairstyle was shocking. It looked gorgeous, but it was actually cumbersome. The money invested was all spent on these dispensable props, and the most important thing was neglected. The plot was too harsh, and the acting was too awkward. It was enough to dissuade a group of people from the movie. On the other hand, the advertising investment for the neighboring channel's Red Brave was not even half of that for Empress. Although it was a lot of investment, it was all in place. In addition, there was Luo Baoging, a dedicated director who strived for perfection. There were no awkward scenes at all. There was also Song Linghua, a technical consultant. Whether it was the young girls or the boys in the crew, they all had to learn how to behave as they filmed. When it came to the appearance of a group portrait, the people of Dancing Red walked in swaying and swaying. Their posture was graceful and dignified. Empress was like going to the market in their hometown. It was a mess, and a mess. It was a foul atmosphere. The difference between them was obvious. Chapter 991. Not to mention, in order to support Xia Ningxi's screenwriting debut and to promote opera culture, Song Linghua specially invited an old friend who did clothing and even makeup design. The makeup for the characters in the play was generous and simple, but it was very consistent with the person and even the role positioning. Instead, it sublimated the tone of the whole play and the appearance characteristics of the actors to a certain extent. In the eyes of the outside world, these two dramas had been secretly competing since the beginning of the shooting. They had thought that the two dramas would be evenly matched after the broadcast since they had been fighting so hard before. Unexpectedly, many people could see the advantages and disadvantages of the two dramas on the first day. Wen Jingping looked at the high ratings of the premiere of Empress happily and imagined that in the near future, she would become a well-known beauty and big star. Wherever she went, fans would pick her up and give her gifts, and she would be the center of attention. As a result, this fantasy only lasted for a day, and it was completely shattered by the ratings and word of mouth like Waterloo. On the second day of Empress's broadcast, the ratings plummeted, and it was not even half of the premiere. All kinds of bad comments filled the comments section at the bottom of the online page, and the rating of the drama was directly reduced from 8 points given for the premiere to 5 points, and it was still falling. Is this a big production that claims to have invested hundreds of millions? Haha, I think this so-called big production is all about these flashy clothes and jewelry, as well as the sky-high salary of the actors. It's this kind of nouveau riche hairstyle that can't wait to pile up into a small hill and pile a box of gold and silver jewelry on the head, and this kind of shadow-style plastic costume that can't be tripped and can't wait to blind your eyes and tell you how rich the crew is. When will these directors and producers understand that whether a drama is good or not depends on the plot and acting skills, and not these messy superficial things? XXX passerby fan, because he also participated in this drama, looked at the makeup photos and clicked on the episode, and was directly blinded by the dazzling. What kind of aesthetic standards do the directors and stylists have now? Do you really think the audience likes your nouveau riche style? Upstairs, I'm also a passerby fan of an actor in this drama. In order to watch him, I endured this strange scene and watched an episode. In the end, I couldn't stand it and was persuaded to quit by the awkward acting skills of a few actors. It hurts my eyes. The director and scriptwriter of this drama are really amazing. Many of the supporting roles are clearly outstanding actors. Even if they aren't considered veteran actors, at least those who have watched their previous dramas know that their acting skills are not bad. At the very least, they won't make the audience fall out of character for no reason. In the end, in this drama, the collective acting skills have gone downhill. Is it the actors who acted half-heartedly or the director who directed half-heartedly? Does no one feel that the lines in this drama are particularly awkward? When I clicked on it, I happened to see the talent show. The lines directly stunned me. She really doubted the scriptwriter's standards. This kind of overbearing CEO line that gave people goosebumps had stopped being popular hundreds of years ago. Okay? Does he really think that he's filming a period drama and all the lines have to follow suit? He's really treating the audience like fools. Other than the ordinary audience who were only attracted by the trailer and publicity, but were dissuaded by the plot and acting skills, The viewers of the premiere were more ancient culture enthusiasts who were attracted by the historical drama that Hai Yi had promoted in the early days. These people had a real affection for ancient culture. Seeing the things they liked being ruined with their own eyes, their reaction was much stronger than the ordinary audience. Chapter 992. Ancient Earth culture and history enthusiasts are disgusted. The TV series they are filming is about a legendary figure recorded in ancient Earth history. When I saw this history by chance, I was fascinated by her extraordinary political views and courage. For this reason, when I was choosing a university, I deliberately chose a related major in order to understand more about ancient culture and history, the history related to her. I heard that someone was willing to film her legendary life into a TV series. At first, I was very happy and looked forward to it. For this reason, I even gave up the tutor's big class tonight and risked failing to watch the premiere of this TV series. But it turned out that this TV series was not worthy of my expectations at all. This TV series turned an independent woman with a political mind into a Mary Sue, who relied on men to get to the top. Ugh, this comment was from a student majoring in ancient culture. It was obvious that she was really dissatisfied with this TV series. She did not mention the content of the TV series throughout, but the disappointment in her words was obvious. It was worth mentioning that there were many people who agreed with her. Most of these people were also ancient culture enthusiasts and had looked forward to this TV series. No, to be precise, they had looked forward to the period dramas in recent years. Unfortunately, the greater the hope, the greater the disappointment. Every time they thought that their bottom line had been lowered enough, the appearance of some TV series would always tell them that their bottom line had to be lowered a little more. Otherwise, they would really be angered to death. After being angered a few times like this, some people became numb, and some people exploded. After the first professional comment with such disappointment appeared, more and more ancient culture enthusiasts joined the team and began to criticize Wen Jingping's TV series from beginning to end. A particularly powerful professional even specially organized a popular science post for this TV series. He specifically pointed out some of the flaws in the costumes, hairstyles, props, and etiquette. He even gave a series of historical arguments, making it difficult for people to refute. After reading his popular science post, many people felt that the TV series was even more plastic. They had spent so much money on it, but the setting was not good, the costumes were not good, the makeup was not good, the acting was not good, and the plot was dragging. So where did all the money go? Did they spend it on publicity to brainwash the audience? That's why, never try to annoy a group, because you never know when your actions will become the fuse that causes them to explode. Once these people joined forces because of this fuse, the energy they could erupt was unpredictable and difficult to resist. Wen Jingping's TV series unfortunately became the fuse for the audience who had been fooled by all kinds of TV series over the years. Even the ratings of her TV series fell to the bottom along with its reputation. Pah! Wen Jingping was so angry that she smashed the things next to her when she saw more than 90% of the negative comments on the TV series and the few popular posts. These idiots, what do they know? A bunch of fools who haven't seen the world. They don't even know about the famous people in ancient times. How dare they criticize my drama? And these so-called ancient culture enthusiasts? Professional? Did he really think that he knew everything after learning some superficial knowledge? All he did was read a few things and he thought that he was amazing. To put it bluntly, he was just a contrarian. Those who can't be seen in real life will only show their existence on the internet. These trash, rats, bugs. Chapter 993. After venting her anger, Wen Jingping calmed down a little. She seemed to have thought of something and clicked on the comment section of Red Singing. The publicity for Red Singing was actually quite good. Unfortunately, every time there was any movement, another drama would stick to it and deliberately suppress their popularity. Therefore, the premiere ratings of Red Singing were actually a little worse than Queen. This was also one of the reasons why Wen Jingping was so smug. She felt that if her drama suppressed Dong Cheng's drama, she would also be able to suppress Su Yiyan. However, she probably didn't expect that this feeling of superiority would last for a day. As the ratings of Queen plummeted, Red Singing's ratings and reputation steadily increased. They both started with 8 points, but Queen's ratings kept dropping. Meanwhile, Red Singing's ratings had gradually climbed to 8. 5 points. And the comments were all positive. This style, this setting, and this acting are really amazing. Compared to the production team next door, the little brothers and sisters are simply fairies. The plot is also very tight and not dragging. I love it. Above. Keep a low profile. Let's not flatter and trample on each other. The most important thing is that the production team next door has Hua Hua Lu Feng and extremely embarrassing acting skills. There's really nothing to compare with our drama. Please don't lower yourself. Thank you. When I looked at the cast before, I was worried that the lead actors were not young anymore. Would they be too old to play the little brothers in their teens or 20s? It turns out that I was too narrow-minded. The age of the stars is different from our age. The little brothers and sisters in the drama are so tender that you can pinch water out of them. I can do it again. It's not just because their skin conditions are good and they know how to take care of themselves. Let's talk about the logistics team of this drama. The stylist is teacher Shi Meiling. She was a famous stylist in the entertainment industry back then. The most classic dramas such as The Secret History of XX, XX Dynasty, XX Legend, and a series of very good dramas with good plots were all once the white moonlight in my heart. However, later on, she gradually faded out of the entertainment industry and stopped styling people. I didn't expect this drama to be able to invite her. Just based on this, I will definitely watch this drama to the end. It's not just the stylist. Look at the director of this drama, Luo Baogang. If you don't know, I suggest you search for it. You will be surprised. There was also a technical consultant. They had hired Song Linghua, teacher Song. If you didn't know, you could look it up. He was a famous opera master. They had probably specially hired him because of the female lead's identity. From this aspect, it could be seen that the crew was very considerate. Unlike a certain production team next door. Previously, Bloodsucking kept talking about investments. I thought that they had hired some Daluo Golden Immortal as foreign aid. Now, it seems that it's nothing much. Ha ha ha, the sister above is too outstanding. I said everything I wanted to say. Daluo Golden Immortal was very appropriate. Previously, before the drama was broadcast, the fake reviewers were terrifying. Even if they didn't say anything, they would say that it was a few $100 million investment. We have money, but those who say that are poor people. I went out to search and came back. F***CK, what kind of godly crew is this? No wonder even though he couldn't understand what the female lead was singing, he just felt that her figure was especially beautiful and her temperament was especially good. The most important thing was that her singing was especially mellow and pleasant. When I watched it yesterday, my mother listened to a few lines and immediately ran over to watch it with me. After watching 2 episodes, she still wanted me to call her when I watch it tomorrow. Ha ha ha. Chapter 994. Previously, when the two companies had a falling out, the earliest example was the directing team. After Hai Yi poached Pan Yuan, Su Yiyan personally went to invite Luo Baogang to come over and forcefully suppressed Pan Yuan. Therefore, many people knew that the director of their drama was Luo Baogang. However, if someone didn't deliberately mention the other people behind the scenes, such as the scriptwriter, technical consultant, and even stylist, most people wouldn't pay attention to them. In addition, most of these old artists were used to keeping a low profile and didn't like to create hype. In the beginning, when the production team announced it, they deliberately avoided it and tried their best not to let people disturb these seniors. Now that the drama had been broadcast, spontaneously promoting it was different from the audience actively discovering it. In the early days, when the drama hadn't been broadcast or wasn't popular, spontaneously promoting it was to let the audience watch the drama based on this and pull up the ratings. When the audience took the initiative to discover it, it meant that the drama had already entered the public's attention and had received a certain level of recognition. At this time, the team behind the scenes was only icing on the cake. It would also give people a good impression that the production team was really low-key and doing practical things. When Jinping had been so angry that she smashed things when she saw that her drama had been criticized as worthless. Now that she saw that her opponent's drama had such a good reputation and received so much praise, anger instantly rushed to her head. She couldn't wait to pick up the scattered things on the ground and smash them again. These brainless low-class people who don't know what's good for them. What's so good about an actress's drama? It's just sensationalism. How can it be as big as my drama's theme? Sure enough, although the technological development of people in the future has advanced a little, the taste of entertainment is getting worse and worse. It's not worthy of liking my drama at all. The system in Wen Jingping's mind listened to its host's complaints and wanted to say something, but it didn't. If it wasn't just a string of emotionless data, she was afraid that it would have sent her two rolling eyes. Wen Jingping didn't have any self-awareness at all. She muttered to herself, "These must be fake reviewers. Yes, they must be fake reviewers. Otherwise, why would they only come to find trouble with me and not with the production team? We're both in period dramas. How can their makeup, hairstyle, and even clothes compare to mine? How can they match history? Why do these people just refuse to let me go, instead of educating them? Someone must have deliberately set the pace here." When the system heard this, it couldn't help but grumble in its heart. "Your drama has been flaunting itself as a historical drama since the start of filming, just so you can enjoy the benefits of these ancient culture lovers. The production team next door isn't as pretentious as you guys. From the very beginning, they said that it was a fake background. They just casually added a background for the sake of passing the review to facilitate the plot. Although those professionals were good at arguing, they weren't stupid. Coming to find trouble with you was the right thing to do, but going to find trouble with that person's crew was a scam. No, I can't just sit here and wait for death. I have to hire a water army too. I have to ask the company to help me hire a water army. I also have to delete the comments. I can't let them lead me away." Wen Jingping seemed to have grasped at a life-saving straw. She hurriedly called her agent who had given up on her and asked her to help her deal with this matter. Who would have thought that before she could make the call, another call came in first? "Hello, Miss Wen. I'm Mr. Dou's assistant, Li Yu." Chapter 995. Wen Jingping could not help but shiver when she heard the words, "Mr. Dou." She gulped and said carefully, Mr. Li, what's the matter?" "It's like this. Miss Wen, you should know that the drama you starred in has been released recently." Yes, that's true. I took a look. The ratings for the premiere of the drama are all right. But, no matter what she said, as long as she said the word, but, it was easy to cause problems. Wen Jingping naturally knew this. Her heart skipped a beat, and her expression stiffened for a moment. But other than the premiere, the ratings for the drama have dropped significantly in the later stages. The reputation of the drama doesn't seem to be good either. This is just a temporary thing. The audience for dramas with this theme is more picky, and some people don't like to watch dramas. They will wait until the drama is over before starting from the beginning. A temporary drop in the ratings doesn't mean anything. I believe that our drama is so good that the ratings will slowly climb back up in the later stages. I hope so. Li Yu's tone did not fluctuate at all. It seemed that she was not very interested in this. As an employee of the same company, I naturally hope that Miss Wen's drama will be a hit. But I have to remind Miss Wen not to forget the bet you made with Mr. Dou. Wen Jingping's face turned pale. She said stiffly, I don't quite understand what you mean. Miss Wen, you promised Mr. Dou that as long as you were the female lead of the drama, you would be able to shoulder the ratings. Even if you couldn't generate revenue, you wouldn't let the drama suffer a loss. But now, the drama has just been released. Everything is unknown. Wen Jingping's head was covered in cold sweat. She interrupted Li Yu before she could finish speaking. Li Yu was silent for a moment. Then she suddenly laughed. Miss Wen is right. The drama has just been released. Everything is unknown. I just want to remind Miss Wen that if the ratings for the later stages of the drama really rise like you said, it'll be fine if the initial investment is recouped. But if it loses money, I'm afraid Miss Wen will have to find a way to cover the losses yourself. Why? Wen Jingping was so scared that she blurted out in a fishy voice. After she finished speaking, she realized that it was inappropriate and hurriedly tried to salvage the situation. I mean, the success or failure of a TV series is not just about the heroine. What you just said is, the success or failure of a drama isn't just a matter of one person. But Miss Wen seems to have forgotten that you were the one who personally made this bet with Mr. Dou. Could it be that Miss Wen wants to go back on her word now? No, I didn't mean that. Li Yu didn't give Wen Jingping a chance to refute and continued. Also, why are the male and female leads called male and female leads? It was because they had the most scenes in the drama and were the most popular. In other words, they were here to boost the viewership ratings. Unfortunately, your drama is a female lead drama, so no one else has as many scenes as you do. To put it bluntly, as the female lead of a major female lead drama, if you can't even handle the viewership ratings, what kind of female lead are you? Now that the ratings of the drama are not increasing, and the investors are losing money, who else can I blame but you? Miss One, please be clear about one thing. I'm here to inform you, not to discuss it with you. You only have two choices. 1. Pray that the drama can really come back from the dead and boost the viewership ratings. 2. Work hard to earn money and pay the compensation. Otherwise, I'm afraid you can't bear the consequences. Chapter 996. Li Yu didn't give Wen Jingping a chance to respond and immediately hung up. Wen Jingping's face darkened when she heard the busy tone. She tried to hold it in, but in the end, she couldn't take it anymore and smashed everything in her hands. After venting her anger by smashing things, Wen Jingping turned her anger to the system. She gritted her teeth and said, "Useless trash, this is your so-called male lead. You still won't let me untie him. Do you want him to kill me?" The system was angered by Wen Jingping's shameless behavior and said coldly, "Host, please understand that the second male lead was chosen by the host. It has nothing to do with the system." Wen Jingping choked and her face darkened. "How many times have I said it? I never chose him. It was you guys who made the decision for me. I don't admit it." The system chuckled and shut up. After that, no matter how Wen Jingping poked it, it refused to talk to her. Wen Jingping complained to no avail and even made herself angry. But when she thought about what Li Yu had said, Wen Jingping couldn't help but feel afraid. She knew better than anyone else how much money was invested in Empress. Wen Jingping didn't even dare to think about how much money she would have to pay if the ratings of the show weren't ideal. It was definitely an astronomical figure that Wen Jingping didn't even dare to think about. How could he treat me like this? How could he treat me like this? Wen Jingping hugged her chest and felt cold all over. She couldn't understand how things had turned out like this. Obviously, someone else had latched onto a powerful thigh and wealth was within reach. She, on the other hand, had been running around for so long and didn't get anything. Instead, she got scolded and inexplicably had a huge debt on her back. Why was it like this? Do Tianyi had treated her very well in the beginning. He liked to eat her cooking and personally arranged accommodation for her. He even helped her avoid Hua Xiaofeng's harassment. She was afraid of him, but she was also secretly happy that he treated her differently. But why did it suddenly change? Wen Jingping still could not figure out why Do Tianyi would suddenly abandon her and not even want to see her face. When exactly did the problem start to appear? Come to think of it, every time she thought she was about to succeed, there would be all kinds of accidents. Ding Juesi was one of them this time. And so was Do Tianyi. However, if they really wanted to look into it, it seemed to have started from Hua Xiaofeng. First it was the talent show. Then, something happened to Hua Xiaofeng's family. Everything seemed to have been forcefully pushed off the original track by a large hand, causing her efforts to be in vain. The culprit seemed to be Hua Xiaofeng's ex-fiancée, Miss Su. Wen Jingping's not-so-smart brain suddenly became smart for once. Thinking about it carefully, everything seemed to have suddenly changed when Hua Xiaofeng broke off his engagement with Miss Su. After that, Miss Su married Hua Xiaofeng's youngest uncle and easily got a management company. This management company was the main investor of the show she participated in. In order to stay, she had a conflict with the artists of this management company. After that, Hua Xiaofeng was suddenly kicked out of the Hua group and stripped of his inheritance rights. Hua Xiaofeng's youngest uncle's legs suddenly recovered. He took the company back from Hua Xiaofeng's father and kicked him out of the company. According to the system, Hua Xiaofeng originally had the male lead script. How could he be kicked out so easily? Miss Su and Hua Xiaofeng's uncle were definitely suspicious. Chapter 997. However, so what if Wen Jingping knew that there was something wrong with Su Yiyan? She could not even protect herself in her current situation, let alone find trouble with Su Yayan and Li Wuyo. Thinking of the huge debt she was about to bear, Wen Jingping was afraid and resentful. She could only pin all her hopes on the last straw. No, I can't just admit defeat. So much money. Where am I going to find so much money? Wen Jingping paced back and forth with a pale face. Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something and her eyes lit up. Yin Jihong, yes, as long as he's willing to help. There's still a chance for everything to turn around. After Ding Juexi's accident, Wen Jingping exchanged all the goodwill she had gained from Ding Juexi into props and threw them all to Yin Jihong. This made Yin Jihong's attitude towards her change significantly, allowing her to stay alone in the crew and not be affected by Ding Juexi's scandal. Now, Wen Jingping had no other choice. Yin Jihong was her last hope. As long as she caught him and made him loyal to her, she could make a comeback. Understanding this, Wen Jingping gritted her teeth and decided to use some extreme means. Su Yiyan didn't know about the twists and turns inside Hai Yi, let alone that Wen Jingping had been forced into a desperate situation and accidentally suspected her. Following the popularity of Dancing Red, Su Yiyan also welcomed an uninvited guest. Director Luo, Auntie Song, why are you here? Su Yiyan looked at the few elders sitting in the hall, blinked, and took the initiative to ask, "These are... President Su is back." As soon as Su Yiyan finished speaking, Luo Baoging and the others didn't say anything. Xia Ningxi had already stood up and rushed to Su Yiyan's side. Her eyes were shining and she smiled a little foolishly. Su Yiyan had goosebumps from her smile and instinctively took a step back. Just as he was wondering what had happened to the little girl, he heard her lower her voice and shout excitedly, "Host, Su Yiyan." All right, the case was solved. Someone had tipped them off. She shouldn't have trusted that brat from the Lan family too much. You know? Did Missin tell you that? Su Yiyan's words were tantamount to admitting that Xia Ningxi called him a streamer just now. The light in Xia Ningxi's eyes became brighter. If it weren't for the elders on the scene, she would have rushed forward to give Su Yiyan a big kiss. Xia Ningxi kept nodding while flattering Su Yiyan with tears in her eyes. I didn't expect it to be you. Sob 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 sob. Did I succeed in chasing after my idol? No, the streamer is Dong Cheng's boss. I've worked with Dong Cheng before. Therefore, the streamer is also my boss. Streamer. Does your company still need screenwriters? You'll bring your own script, work hard without complaint, and don't need a salary. You'll only need to pay for 3 meals. Su Yiyan laughed and said helplessly, Our company doesn't provide 3 meals. 1 meal is fine, or 1 meal a week. I'll pay for it out of my own pocket. I only need a number. Xia Ningxi was afraid that Su Yiyan would refuse. She looked up at Su Yiyan eagerly and tried to sell herself. The streamer has promoted employee benefits in the live broadcast room before, right? I don't ask for much, and it doesn't need to be free. I can pay for it. I just want to be able to cut in the employee queue. Once a week, no, once a month. I'll get a number. Streamer, please accept me as a diligent and lovable social animal. Su Yiyan. No, girl. Do your family know that you're selling yourself so conscientiously? Chapter 998. In the end, it was Song Linghua who took the initiative to speak up and rescue Su Yiyan from the awkward atmosphere of being chased after by fanatical fans. What are you whispering about over there? Why don't you share it with us elders? Su Yiyan seemed to wake up from a dream. She smiled faintly and looked at them. I'm telling Miss Xia about the drama we've been broadcasting recently. I saw that the reviews online for this drama are very good and the ratings are very high. It's all thanks to you, Director Luo, Miss Xia, and the rest of the crew. When Luo Baoging heard Su Yiyan praise their drama, he looked a little proud. However, he said, it's mainly because your company's investment is in place. It's not surprising that it's such a good drama after spending so much money. Director Luo is too modest. Nowadays, it's not like you can make a good drama just by spending money. Let's not talk about the distant ones. Just look at the terrible drama next door. They spent no less money than our drama. But what happened in the end? Look at how many people on the internet are saying that they're good. It's all because they don't have good directors and consultants like you and Auntie Song. No matter how good the actors and the script are, it's all ruined. Speaking of the recent success of Red Brave, The person who regretted it the most was director Pan Yuan, who was originally invited by Dongqing Entertainment to direct the drama, but later broke the contract and jumped ship to Hai Yi. Director Pan initially promised to direct Red Singer, but on the eve of the contract signing, he jumped to Hai Yi and announced that he would direct The Empress. He openly helped Hai Yi to backstab Dong Cheng. In fact, the reason he was willing to jump ship was very simple. Compared to Dong Cheng, Hai Yi gave him more remuneration, more promises, and more generous treatment. However, when he joined the crew, he realized that he had been tricked. Hai Yi did give him more remuneration, but in exchange, the company took away most of his rights as a director. They were both big historical dramas, but Dong Cheng didn't interfere with the selection of the crew, the scriptwriter's adaptation of the plot, or even the replacement of the actors. He had given Luo Baoging almost all of the rights in the production team, giving him the greatest amount of trust. Hai Yi was different. From the casting of actors to the plot, and even some friction during the filming process, the director had almost no say in it. The final result was that the drama wasn't very good. The ratings weren't good, and many of Hai Yi's empty promises couldn't be fulfilled. In addition, in order to step on Dong Cheng, Hai Yi Entertainment had publicized the fact that he directed Empress to everyone. Outsiders might not understand, but insiders could see the knack of it at a glance. It would have been fine if he had done a good job in the drama. After all, people in this industry worshipped the strong and trampled on the weak. As long as you stood at the top, your character was secondary. But the truth was that he had messed up. He had lost all his face. One could only imagine what awaited him in the future. All right, you two can stop flattering each other. Song Linghua couldn't stand the two of them bragging about each other. She pulled her husband aside and glared at him. Let's get down to business. Yes, let's get down to business. After being glared at by his wife, Luo Baoging remembered the purpose of today's visit. He coughed softly and said, "Little Sue, we're here today to ask for your help." "What's the matter?" "It's like this. These two are old friends of ours." Song Linghua pointed to the two elders who were about the same age as them and introduced them. One of their juniors had an accident 2 years ago and was injured. We heard about it by chance and thought that you might be able to help her, so that you're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.